All right. Thank you, Jason. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let's go ahead and begin with a roll call.
Okay, Council President McIrvin.
Here.
Councilmember Prince.
Here.
Councilmember Perez. Councilmember Vaughn.
Here.
Councilmember Alverson.
Here.
Councilmember Rivera.
Here.
And Councilmember O'Halloran.
I'm here.
Roll call, Mr. President. One absent.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Prince.
I move we excuse the absent council member.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Prince and seconded by Councilmember Vaughn that we excuse Councilmember Perez. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are going to move on. We have two proclamations tonight. The first is a proclamation for Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Okay, proclamation. Whereas in Washington State, 45% of women and 22% of men report having experienced sexual violence in their lifetime. And whereas rape is among the most underreported crimes for reasons that include victims' fear of being disbelieved or further traumatized within systems designed to support them, and additional barriers such as language, immigration status, gender bias, and systemic racism further oppress and silence victims. And whereas impacts of sexual violence are rooted in and compounded because Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, people living in poverty, LGBTQ people, elders, people with disabilities, and other people are targeted by oppression and affected by sexual violence in significant and complex ways. And whereas statewide, 29% of the survivors who were supported by a community sexual assault organization identified as Black, Indigenous, and people of color in 2019. And of those identifying ethnicity, 21% identified as Latinx or Hispanic. And whereas sexual violence exists on a continuum of behavior and includes racist, sexist, transphobic, homophobic, and other hate speech ranging from rape jokes to verbal harassment to threats of rape and violence, including hate speech online. And whereas 41% of Americans have been personally subjected to harassing behavior online, and people from historically oppressed groups are more likely to experience online harassment, mirroring inequities we see elsewhere in society. And whereas negative impacts of sexual violence trauma on adults, children, and youth include fear, concern for safety, symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, injury, and missed work or school. And whereas working together as a community, we can alleviate the trauma of sexual violence by ensuring supportive resources are available to all survivors while standing up to harmful attitudes and behaviors that contribute to sexual violence. Now, therefore, I, Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim April 2022 to be Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Renton, and I encourage all residents to join advocates and communities throughout King County in taking action to prevent sexual violence by standing with survivors. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 4th day of April 2022, signed Mayor Pavoni, City of Renton. That's it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Prince.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the proclamation be adopted as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Here with us tonight, we have Mary Ellen Stone from the King County Sexual Assault Resource Center. Mary Ellen, would you like to say a few words?
I would love to say a few words. And council members, we're just across the parking lot from you. I wish we were there with you in person. I was there with you in person, but this is, I guess, the next best thing. Thank you for taking a couple minutes for this proclamation. You know, KSARC started in Renton. Our home is in Renton, and we really feel very strongly and attached to the community. We see hundreds of victims of sexual assault from Renton every year. Half of them are children and teens. The other half, obviously, are adults. We see the span of ages, of circumstances, of race and ethnicity that represent the city of Renton. And we're very proud to serve all of those individuals with the best possible services we can find and that we can provide, because we want help people to be able to move and to reclaim their lives. So that's everything from a 24-hour resource line to specialized help through the legal system, have worked with Renton PD for many, many years to really specialize trauma-focused therapy. All of that is in English and Spanish. Your support as a city is a big part of how we can continue to provide those works. I also want to say we have an exciting prevention initiative starting hopefully this summer as people start going back to school in person, and we'll be focusing in the Renton School District. We have a lot of support from the district. Very, very excited, and I'd love to have come back to you, hopefully in person later this fall once we get that up and going. Sexual Assault Awareness Month theme this year is being safe spaces online. So we have a whole toolkit. I know our staff have been in touch with the city to help you figure out how do we put that information out. Thanks for being leaders in this time. I can't imagine a more difficult time. And I so appreciate all of the support that you give us and the leadership that you have for the city of Renton. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here and bringing attention to this important issue.
Okay.
All right, next we have another proclamation for Volunteer Appreciation Month.
Okay, proclamation, whereas the month of April is established as Volunteer Appreciation Month to recognize the impact of volunteer service and the power of volunteers to help tackle society's greatest challenges and build stronger communities. And whereas every community member is better together and can affect positive change with any volunteer action, no matter how big or small. Whereas the City of Renton is committed to encouraging volunteerism among its employees, residents, partners, businesses, and organizations. And whereas hundreds of volunteers working in the Renton community kept programs and services available to the most vulnerable populations during the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the City of Renton commemorates Volunteer Appreciation Month by recognizing its valued volunteers at an annual volunteer appreciation event, which this year's drive-through and virtual gathering. Now therefore I, Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 to be Volunteer Appreciation Month in the City of Renton and encourage our residents to recognize the positive impact of volunteering. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 4th day of April 2022, signed Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Prince.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the proclamation be adopted as read. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, for this proclamation, we have Teresa Nishi here from the city to accept. Go ahead, Teresa.
Thank you, Council President, Renton Council, City Council members, for proclaiming April as a Volunteer Appreciation Month in Renton. The staff and I, who coordinate volunteer opportunities, are very excited and looking forward to this year to doing more with the volunteers and being back in the community. We can't wait to be back in person at so many events and opportunities out there for our citizens. So thank you for all your support of the city's volunteer program and to all of our volunteers for all that they do. So thanks.
Thank you, Teresa. All right, next up, we have a public hearing, CDGPD, CB3 Coronavirus Round 3 funding. I believe I'm turning this one over to Guy Williams. Guy, are you with us?
I am with you. Thank you for having me. Let me get my situation here together for you. Hi there. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
There he is.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight's item is to hold a public hearing on the use of Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Round 3 CDBG funds. A little bit of background regarding these funds. The City of Renton receives an annual allocation of federal CDBG funds in agreement with King County. CDBG funds must serve low to moderate income residents. Additionally, CDB coronavirus CD funds were allocated to Renton to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus. There are 3 rounds of funds. This is the 3rd round, but let me tell you about rounds 1 and 2. In round one, we received $400,000 allocated to 3 agencies for rent and food assistance. In round two, we received $183,000 allocated to 2 agencies for rent assistance. Here in round three, there is a required public hearing tonight on the proposed use of these funds for $698,472. A request proposal was done in late 2021 for the use of these funds in the following need areas: behavioral health, child care assistance, food assistance, rental assistance, and sexual assault, domestic violence. Our Human Services Advisory Committee determined that these were the critical areas during the pandemic. 6 proposals were received for a total of $508,000. Proposals reviewed and recommended for funding by the Human Services Advisory Committee. These are the areas and the agencies that we are funding in that process: domestic abuse, Women's Network, Dawn, King County Sexual Assault Resource Center, we just heard from, Renton Housing Authority, $250,000, St. Vincent de Paul, Central Randu, $100,000, Sustainable Renton, $48,000, Valley Cities Behavioral Health Care, $35,000, for a total of $508,000 total.
Okay, can I interrupt for a second? Oh, there's your PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Guy.
Okay. The breakdown of expenditures is as follows. The 6 agencies, $508,000, administration, $8,000. Then there's a balance of $182,000 that we'll speak about. But it gives us a total allocation amount of $698,472. As it relates to the balance, a targeted RFP will be done for the unrequested funds for $182,000 to agencies meeting the following criteria: existing rental assistance programs, those agencies that have experience with CDBG requirements, and those serving diverse populations. The reason for that is these funds are federal funds, and there's only as reporting requirements. So we only try to deal with agencies that have a history of dealing with these tough requirements. Proposals will be evaluated and funding awards determined by the Human Services Advisory Committee. Additional council action will not be required to approve the awards. The recommendation for tonight is to hold a public hearing to provide an opportunity for public comment on the proposed use of the CDBG funds. Council motion: authorize mayor and city clerk to execute agreements for these funds of $698,472 and CDBG CB3 funds as proposed, subject to approval as to legal form. Are there any questions I can answer?
All right, thank you, Guy. Do we have any questions from council? All right, I'm not seeing any questions. This is a public hearing. Jason, do we have anyone signed up to comment tonight?
I don't believe we have anybody signed up to comment, but there may be people in the audience who want to comment.
Okay. And if there's anyone in the virtual audience who wishes to comment, this would be the time to do so. Please raise your hand. And this is on the public hearing. There will still be an audience comment period later for general public comment.
Yes, sir.
I am seeing one hand raised in the audience.
I see Angela Mercado. Angela, go ahead.
Evening. Thank you so much. I just wanted to thank the council. My name is Angela Mercado. I'm the executive director at the Domestic Abuse Women's Network, and just want to say thank you for having our agency on the list being discussed tonight. We continue to see such a high need for our shelter as well as housing assistance, especially as the continued impact of the pandemic continues within our organization and through our calls into our crisis line. In 2021, Mountain was able to transition 33 families from our emergency shelter into sustainable permanent housing and continue to enjoy and enhance our community partnerships through emergency housing vouchers as well as Section 8. And I just appreciate the recommendation for funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? All right, seeing none, what is the wish of the council? I'm sorry, I do see one more hand raised on this for the public hearing.
Kathleen, go ahead. Kathleen Powell.
Hello?
Kathleen, I just want to confirm that you are speaking to council addressing the public hearing tonight, because I know that you
Yes.
registered to speak on the audio. And okay, all right, please go ahead.
All righty. I'm a little discombobulated. I don't have power at home. So I'm here at Starbucks, sitting outside using their Wi-Fi. But this is very important to me, and I wanted to speak with the council tonight. I live in Renton, and I've spoken to you all before. This is about the ordinance that is on the Planning Commission that they're about to present on Wednesday. Are you taking comments on that tonight, or are these comments limited to something else?
Kathleen, we will be taking regular audience comment here momentarily. Right now, we're in a public hearing.
I'm very
no
sorry.
problem. I understand you're at Starbucks and it can be challenging. So, but we will definitely call on you momentarily once we get through the public hearing.
I'm very sorry. I'm very disorganized, as you might imagine.
It's absolutely understandable. Okay. All right. If there's no additional public comment for the public hearing, what is the wish of the council?
Mayor,
Councilmember Prince.
move we close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Now Mr. Mayor, they did have an additional request on the last slide.
Yes.
Judith?
And staff is looking for action on this tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So we're looking for a motion to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreements for $698,472 in CDBG CVC funds as proposed, subject to approval in legal form. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to do the things I just said. Any discussion?
Thank you, council.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. That moves us on. We're on to the, and thank you, Guy, for the presentation.
Thank you.
We are moving on now to the administrative report.
All right, good evening, everyone. Organization Clean the World mobile shower unit will be available in Renton every Monday, April from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 300 Rainier Avenue North. For more information on the service and others provided by the foundation, visit cleantheworldfoundation.org. The Emergency Feeding Program, SOS, will be hosting a pop-up lunch event at the Sunset Neighborhood Park, 2680 Sunset Lane Northeast, from 12:30 to 2 p.m. on Tuesday, April 5th and April 19th. Unsheltered and those residents with food insecurities will receive free, ready-to-eat food and drinks from Amazon Fresh. Personal hygiene kits and cleaning supplies and socks will also be available. Information about preventative street maintenance, traffic impact projects, and road closures happening this week can be found at rentonlaw.gov/traffic. All projects are weather permitting, and unless otherwise noted, streets will always remain open. That is the report, sir.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have the remote audience comment period. It remains a strong intent of the city to have public comment regularly included on our agendas. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to speak. You'll be called upon by a city staff member. The staff member will call the speaker's name and unmute the appropriate microphone, which will send an automatic prompt, which will allow you to unmute yourself. This is the speaker's cue that is your turn to speak. Please begin your comments by stating your name, city of residence, and the topic you are addressing. Speakers should be able to see a timer on the screen. When your time is close to expiring, please finish your comments. All right. First up, who do we have?
The first person we have is Kathleen Powell. Kathleen, go ahead.
Hi. If I disappear, it's because Starbucks has turned off their Wi-Fi. This is Kathleen Powell, and I've spoken to you on several occasions. I'm a Renton resident, a 15-plus year volunteer with South County Cats, which has a brand new spay-neuter clinic open in Renton, and also the rescue chair for the Pacific Crest Kazon Club, as well as a longtime companion pet advocate. Tonight, I'd like to talk with you again about Puppyland and how the proposed retail pet sales ordinance that will be presented to the by the Planning Commission on Wednesday of this week. This is not the humane ordinance that your Renton residents have asked for. The residents who have spent countless weekends protesting the store, writing countless emails to you and the Planning Commission for the past year, and who have been educating the community about puppy mills and pet stores that support them. This ordinance is a huge disappointment to Renton residents. On first read, it is a roadmap to keep Puppyland in business for at least another year. What people fail to realize is this industry is all about smoke and mirrors and double speak. They claim their puppies are not sourced from puppy mills, but the paperwork indicates otherwise. The paper trail shows 1,600 puppies have come from Jack's in Iowa this year, according to the certificates of veterinary inspection. If you've ever bought a dog from a reputable breeder, then you know they would never sell puppies to this kind of operation. It's like the Costco of puppies, and they're all supplied by puppy mills, period. I have so many questions. Who in the city is going to go through 1,600 sales contracts and verify the origin of these puppies? In our computer age, these documents can be altered with a click of the mouse or the delete key. I don't put anything past this industry, as it is well known that several retail pet stores created fake rescues when they were no longer able to sell puppies. Is there someone in the city that can spend their time policing this business? And why would the city even try? It's a no-win situation. Please pass a humane ordinance similar to the one that the city of Olympia passed about 2 years ago. And let's be done with this issue. I believe that everyone on the city council has been sent a copy of this ordinance, and I invite you to take a look at it, at its simplicity, and compare it to the ordinance that will be presented Wednesday night by the Planning Commission. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kathleen.
The next person we have is Jill Cervais. Jill, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Jill Service. I live in Renton, and I've spoken with you before, and I'm going to reiterate some of Kathleen's points here. It's really amazing to me that, everyone I talk to about the Renton City Council says that's a bunch of really good people, and I'm like, yeah, but we're not getting this done. It is just not getting done, and so we're trying to figure out what is the holdup. All of you may have not have had the opportunity to read that proposed humane ordinance that the Planning Commission will discuss this Wednesday. I'm assuming you've all received copies of it. To put it simply, the ordinance that Renton is proposing is not similar to any of the 421 existing ordinances that are in effect across the country. Ordinances like the one that Olympia passed have held up legally. It is very hard for all of us to understand why Renton isn't using a proven model in their proposal. Humane ordinances are not new, and when you follow legal precedents, they are not complicated or difficult or even controversial within a community. We aren't talking about brand new laws that are covering NFTs or cryptocurrency or something really contemporary. The first humane ordinance actually was passed in 2006. Just since the Renton Puppyland opened in March of 21, 42 other cities have passed a humane ordinance. In that 1 year, 42 other cities have passed a humane ordinance, but Renton has not. So what the citizens of Renton are asking of their city leaders is not unusual, it's not extreme, it's not difficult. The proposed ordinance as it's written is not going to meet the goals and objectives of the dedicated people who have requested that this business stop selling puppy mill puppies. Besides the obvious problem with enforcement that Kathleen spoke about, the 15-month grace period the ordinance includes for Puppyland to continue business as usual is quite honestly insulting to everyone who has worked so hard to make Renton puppy mill free. This 15 months would be record-setting in length of time it permits a business to continue operating after a humane ordinance is passed. The model calls out for a period of approximately 90 days. But Renton wants to let Puppyland stay open for another 15 months with an end date of July 2023. Renton was originally notified in January of 21 that this business was thinking about opening a store in Renton, and no preemptive action was taken. Over 1 year later, here we are still waiting for an ordinance. This delay has actually caused Renton to become even more complicit. Renton is now not only condoning puppy mill sales in our town, Renton is actively encouraging and financially supporting their expansion. Puppyland sold over 1,600 puppies in that year with revenues over $8 million in that 1 year. They were able to open 2 new stores in Georgia in the last couple of months, something they would not have been possible to do without those revenues from Renton. I'll say it again, Renton is actually actively financially supporting Puppyland's expansion. I strongly suggest each and every one of you to make this a priority and start treating this issue with some sense of urgency. Those of us that have been in the trenches have been patient, and we have waited for the wheels of legislation to turn. We are citizens who have jobs, families, volunteer obligations, and the slow pace of this process has been disappointing and quite honestly frustrating. This last effort was shockingly inadequate. I would respectfully request that this city council prioritize this issue and pass a humane ordinance immediately that is similar to the one that was passed in Olympia or one of the ones that have held up in courts across the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill.
The next person we have is Nancy Quinn. Nancy, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nancy Quinn. I live in the city of Renton. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. I totally oppose the proposed Bufflehead Energy Storage Project behind the Maplewood neighborhood, which would be 50 feet from my property line. This project would pack in storage units the size of shipping containers, 300 of them. I don't want that in my backyard. Would you, council? We currently have a serene wooded area with tons of wildlife. Herons, spotted owls, deer, hawks, eagles, and my personal favorite, frogs, and much, much more. There are 2 retention ponds that drain directly into the Cedar River. The plan says they will not remove trees unless necessary, but the project footprint indicated on page 22 of their pre-application document shows that they would take out all the trees back to the hillside. Those trees provide significant sound dampening from the current highway noise of 169. There is an aquifer directly below us as well. The environmental impact is unthinkable. Lithium-ion batteries are known to be extremely dangerous, subject to fire and explosion. Sorry. Once the overheating known as thermal runaway starts, it is impossible to stop. It travels from one cell to another and is uncontrollable. At that point, the water used to try not only to extinguish it, but to cool it, in addition to the hazardous chemicals from the batteries, would be draining directly into our river. Try to imagine that if a Tesla car battery, when it catches fire, takes 28,000 gallons of water, what would it take to put out a fire in an enormous farm of batteries? Further, they're too new for us to have complex, time-proven data on how the batteries perform, age, deteriorate, or respond in hazardous situations such as earthquakes. We are in a floodplain here in our neighborhood, 100-year, albeit, but still a floodplain. Landslide, considering the current site is right underneath a former quarry, Liberty Ridge, that the landowner's company helped build. The significant fire risk of lithium-ion batteries and the potential for thermal runaway makes them an unacceptable neighbor. This is obviously rushed. Goldfinch Energy Storage was incorporated less than 6 months ago and is racing to permit this project. The neighborhood of nearly 200 homes in which I live, who would be the most impacted by this, has not even been notified. Please carefully examine page 22 of the PDF that I will include in the written follow-up after tonight's meeting. It includes an aerial view of the project. It is truly sickening. Please deny the application of this battery energy storage system. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nancy. And I know we've received some correspondence on this topic as well. So I do appreciate your comments and for bringing this to council's attention tonight.
Thank you.
The last person we have is Gina Carey. Gina, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yay. Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pavoni and distinguished City Council members for the opportunity to speak. My name is Gina Carey. I'm a Renton resident and voter, as well as an animal advocate. I volunteer at many local pet-related 501c3 organizations in King County. And I have spoken to you before. As you well know, I am definitely an animal advocate. I was thrilled when I received an email saying retail pet sales was on the agenda and that I could find a supplemental staff report and draft ordinance about this docket item on the city's website, on the Planning Commission webpage. It would be linked under the 2022 Planning Commission meeting agenda item, and it will be part of the April 6, 2022 Planning Commission agenda. I know I can be technically challenged at times, and it took me a while to finally stumble across it, and I would ask in the future a direct link to the actual document be included in the email. I also want to thank the City Council for honoring your word about putting this forth through public hearings. I believe there was some hubbub of not doing so, so I really appreciate you ensuring the process. So we first contacted you over a year ago regarding the dangers of allowing unregulated pet sales here in Renton, and that a company known for selling puppy mill puppies was coming to town. I've shared a copy of my testimony dated February 28, 2022, that includes a timeline of events that have occurred over the last year. I know Bailing Out Benji, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is dedicated to ending puppy mills through research, education, and advocacy, shared with the City Council and the Planning Commission sample wording for a real, quote-unquote, humane ordinance. In fact, our neighboring cities adopted similar wording. I spoke with Ashley Dale today, and she had intended to speak tonight. Unfortunately, she may not be able to. However, she has spent considerable time reviewing this document and has emailed you her comments and concerns. I only ask that you take time to review her input. As for me, I was dismayed at the volume of words used to create the new Renton, quote unquote, humane ordinance. Somewhere, something has gone awry. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. This new version does not come close to meeting my concerns as an animal advocate. It still allows the sale of puppy mill puppies. It still allows predatory loans. I hope you all had the opportunity to see Jesse Jones' piece on Puppyland. Wasn't it great to have our first city highlighted with this kind of reputation? I hope you are as appalled as I am, and I hope you want to be part of the solution. I cannot support this new version as as it is not a humane ordinance and should not even be called that. This ordinance does not model any ordinance that has been passed across the country or by our neighbors. As written, it opens the city of Renton to many legal risks. Or is that the intention of the city attorney? I cannot conceive of an efficient or plausible way to enforce this as written. And most of all, it does not stop the retail sale of puppy mill puppies or protect consumers. This is what I, a Renton resident, asked for. I cannot support the passage of this document. I would be happy to meet with you individually to further discuss this and help write something that would be acceptable. I'm not sure who assisted in writing what is being presented, but they fell off the track. In the meantime, since we do not currently have retail pet sales regulations on the books, I believe we should revoke the only license out there until we can regulate this industry appropriately. I'm still hoping for a real humane ordinance to be passed and made effective by July 4th, 2022. Let's work together to make this happen. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Gina.
Council President, that's all I have for tonight.
All right, thank you. Really quickly, before we move on, I just wanted to acknowledge and address that I was waiting for all of our audience comments on the Humane Pet Ordinance. Just for information for those who commented, first of all, thank you for being here to share your comments with us tonight. We do appreciate them. I do appreciate your continued patience, as I know we're nearing kind of the end of this process. So as members mentioned, it is going to the Planning Commission, and there's a briefing on them on that topic this week, followed by a public hearing later this month on the 20th. While certainly this body is the one who will ultimately decide on the final ordinance, we will certainly take the recommendation of the Planning Commission. So I would certainly encourage members to share these thoughts with the Planning Commission as well. The ordinance that gets to us could very well be changed for their recommendation from that in hearing those comments, and then ultimately they'll come back to us. So we can evaluate that as we get closer. So thank you very much. And I will go ahead and move us on now to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda for council consideration tonight. Is there any agenda items a council member would like pulled?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Prince.
Seeing none, I move we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the council consent agenda be approved as published. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are moving on to unfinished business. And as of right now, I do not show any unfinished business on the calendar. So rather than go around the virtual room, I would open it up if there was a council member who felt that they did have unfinished business to declare it so. And seeing not, I could have gone through everyone's name one by one, but this seemed more expeditious. I will move us on then to, and we don't have any legislation on the agenda tonight, so we are going to move on now to new business. And first I will call on Councilmember Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on Monday, April 11th at 5 p.m., Plan Development Committee will meet by video conference with 4 items on the agenda: Liberty Square Extended Multifamily Tax Exemption Agreement Amendment, Docket 16 Group E, Retail Pet Sales, and Emerging Issues in CED. And also announcing for our council president, who's filling in as mayor tonight, Committee of the Whole on April 11th is canceled, and on Monday, April 11th at 7 p.m., we have our council meeting by video conference. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one new business. On April 5th, tomorrow, Tuesday, at 5:15 p.m., the Transportation Committee will be meeting via video conference. We have one item on the agenda, which is emerging issues in transportation, with which we'll update on transportation CIP projects and update on I-405 Express Lane construction in Renton. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Albertson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I want to announce that tomorrow, April 5th at 3:30 p.m., the Utilities Committee will be meeting via video conference. There are two items on the agenda. Number one, applicant resolution authorization for the Panther Creek Fish Passage barrier removal at Talbot Road South project, and two, emerging issues in utilities, specifically downtown utility improvement project update, King County Cedar Hills landfill, EIS, and an update on Republic Services credit to customers for the labor disruption. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Council President McIrvin. The Community Services Committee will be meeting tomorrow, April 5th, via video conference at 4:30 p.m. and we'll be discussing the Human Services Assessment and Plan update.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, Councilmember O'Halloran.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to chime in for Councilmember O'Halloran since
Hello?
we have me. Oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you on the phone. Yes.
Thank you. I would like to announce that on Monday, April 11th at 4 p.m., the Finance Committee will be meeting via video conference. We have 5 items on the agenda. Agreement with the Redden Sailing Center for the lease of city property at Jean Coulon Memorial Beach Park. The Jean Coulon Memorial Beach Park Trestle Bridge Replacement Construction contract. The Kiwanis Park Improvements Construction contract. Vouchers. And then finally, emerging issues in finance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Halloran, and nice pivot to the phone. Well done. All right. This concludes our business for the evening. Thank you, Councilmember Prince, for announcing the Council President items for Committee of the Whole. I was going to get to that just in case you didn't. And thank you all for bearing with me through my first meeting presiding. So that was fun. We'll see if I get to do that again. So what's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
All right.